She was slapped in front of the entire room. Called the girl who lived in a horse stable, the disgrace of the family, the country bumpkin who stumbled into high society. Even the ones who brought her into this world said coldly, "You don't belong here." Her fake sister clutched her shoulder and cried. Her boyfriend smirked. Royal blood doesn't milk cows, does it? Until one moment changed everything. She inherited the entire multi-billion-dollar fortune. The Wexley estate loomed over the Connecticut countryside, its stone walls draped in ivy, its windows glinting under a gray autumn sky. The mansion, a century-old fortress of wealth, was the heart of the Wexley family, built by Reginald Wexley, the founder of Wexley Holdings, a global empire of finance, real estate, and influence. Today, the grand hall was packed for the reading of Reginald's will, the air thick with the scent of polished oak and the murmur of ambition. Velvet curtains framed tall windows. Chandeliers cast a cold glow, and the family sat in carved mahogany chairs. Their tailored suits and silk dresses a stark contrast to the occasion's gravity. Clara Wexley, 28, slipped into the hall, her white linen dress plain, her non-branded shoes scuffed from years of use. As she entered, a group of distant cousins amplified their scorn with venomous whispers. A man with a monogrammed handkerchief sneered, his voice loud enough to carry, "Look at that dress. Did she pull it from a laundry basket? This is a will reading, not a peasant fair." His sister, her diamond bracelet flashing, laughed sharply. "She's got no right to sit here. Bet she's planning to beg for a handout." Their laughter drew nods from the board members, their eyes fixed on Clara's scuffed shoes as if her presence defiled the hall's elegance. "Go back to the farm, Clara. You're embarrassing the Wexley name," a young relative shouted, his cufflinks polished to perfection. Their jeers were a performance, each taunt a calculated jab at her simplicity. The hall felt like a gauntlet, the air thick with their contempt. Yet Clara took her seat calmly, her hands folded, their silence a stark contrast to their cruelty. No makeup touched her face, but her hazel eyes held a quiet dignity, her auburn hair tied back simply. She moved softly, her presence unnoticed by most of the crowd of relatives, board members, and attorneys, their voices buzzing with anticipation. For years, Clara had cared for Reginald, cooking his meals, giving his insulin shots, sitting by his bedside, while the family threw gaiters and chased deals. The hall was a stage for the elite. Victoria Wexley, 28, sat at the center, her black designer dress hugging her frame, her blonde hair cascading in perfect waves. Raised as Reginald's granddaughter, she was the family's darling, polished, gifted in school, and a master of manipulation. Her smile was a weapon, her tears a performance, and her charm a mask for venom. Beside her, Alex, her boyfriend, and a rising star in the company, adjusted his cufflinks, his smirk sharp. Clara's parents, Margaret and Edward, sat nearby, their faces hard, their wealth evident in their tailored attire. Margaret's pearl necklace gleamed, Edward's watch flashed, but their eyes were cold as they glanced at Clara. She'd been switched at birth, raised on a farm until age 12. And when returned to the Wexleys, she was awkward, behind in school, and deemed uncultured. They called her a duty, not a daughter, especially after Victoria framed her for stealing and spilling wine on a board member's report. A lie that cost the family a deal and branded Clara a disgrace. The board members whispered, their suits crisp, their glances dismissive. "She's here," one muttered. "Thought she'd be in the kitchen." Clara took a seat at the hall's edge, her hands folded, her silence a shield. As Clara settled, Margaret leaned forward, her voice a hiss that carried across the hall. "Why are you here? This is family business." The family's mockery grew sharper, fueled by a board member's booming voice from the center of the hall. "She's no heir. She's a servant in a dress." "Bet she's here to steal Victoria's spotlight," his associate added. A woman in a velvet suit grinned cruelly. That linen rag. She's insulting the estate's legacy. Why is she even breathing our air? This is for real Wexleys, a female cousin called out, her hair pinned with pearls. The board member pointed at Clara's shoes, his voice dripping with disdain. Those look like they've trudged through mud. She's a walking disgrace. The crowd's laughter was a chorus, drawing nods from Alex, his cufflinks sparkling as he jeered. She's probably plotting to sell the estate for pigs. The hall's energy was venomous, each jab a strike at Clara's quiet presence. Her fingers tightened on her dress, her face betraying nothing, but the crowd's scorn was a relentless wave pressing against her calm exterior. Edward's sneer was colder, his voice loud enough for the board to hear. I said it before. You were raised out of duty. Don't even dream. Victoria clutched Alex's arm, her voice trembling with false sincerity. Please, Clara, stop fighting over things. This isn't some barnyard auction. Alex scanned Clara from head to toe, his tone dripping with scorn. There's no noble blood in someone who knows how to muck a stable. The hall's laughter was a chorus, cruel and unrelenting, each jab a strike at Clara's quiet presence. Then Edward stood, his face red, and slapped Clara across the face, the sound echoing off the oak walls. As Edward slapped Clara, the crowd's disdain turned vicious, their taunts a feeding frenzy. A group of aunts near the back, their fur stoles draped elegantly, joined the assault, one shouting, "She's got no shame showing up here." That slap was too kind. The sister, earrings dangling, laughed loudly. Bet she's used to worse on the farm. She's not one of us. The aunts' voices drew nods from the relatives, their approval fueling the hall's scorn. She's a fraud in a cheap dress. Victoria is the true heir. A young board member called out. Victoria's fake tears glistened, her voice soft but cutting. Oh, Clara, why make this harder? You're breaking our hearts. Clara's cheek burned, but she sat still, her hands folded, her hazel eyes steady despite the barrage of insults suffocating her. The family's cruelty reached a peak, their laughter a weapon aimed at her solitude. Yet she remained composed, her silence a quiet defiance against their orchestrated venom. Gasps followed the slap, but no one intervened. Not the board, not the relatives, not Victoria, whose faint smirk betrayed her role in the setup. The humiliation grew vicious, the family feeding off Edward's aggression. She's got no place here. That dress, did she sew it from a feed sack? A cousin sneered, her silk scarf fluttering. Bet she's here to beg for scraps. Reginald must have pitied her. An aunt nodded, her earrings glinting. She's the farm girl who ruined our deal. No wonder they keep her in the shadows. A board member muttered to his colleague, his time monogrammed. Victoria's tears dried, her voice now edged with mockery. Oh, Clara, always the martyr. Did you think you'd charm your way into the will? Alex chuckled, his cufflinks flashing. She probably thinks cleaning Reginald's bedpan makes her an heir. As the attorney prepared to read, the family's disdain turned personal, their lies targeting Clara's very existence. Margaret stood, her pearls clinking, her voice shrill. She's no Wexley. She was raised with pigs, not principles. Edward pointed at Clara, his watch gleaming. You embarrassed us before shareholders. You're a stain on this family. Bet she's been scheming since she got here. Thinks she's one of us, a gossipy uncle shouted, his suit rumpled. She's got no education, no class. Why is she even sitting here? A board member in a grey suit called out. Victoria's smirk widened, her dress pristine, her role as the victim cemented. She's a servant, not an heir, one relative cried. Clara's hands rested in her lap, her breath even. But the crowd's cruelty was a net wrapping around her quiet resolve. Yet she sat still, her silence a defiance that went unnoticed. The attorney, Mr. Arthur Lynn, rose, his face solemn, his glasses glinting under the chandeliers. The hall quieted, the family's anticipation a tangible force. He unfolded the will, his voice steady, I, Reginald Wexley, in sound mind, of my own free will, and with full legal capacity, declare this my last will and testament, witnessed and verified at Wexley Estate by Attorney Arthur Lynn. I hereby leave my entire estate, including Wexley Holdings, all domestic and international real estate, every trust and asset under my name, my art collections, and all intellectual property to the one person I recognize as family. Clara Wexley. The hall erupted, chairs scraping, voices rising. This is an outrage. She's a country nobody, not a Wexley. A senior board member stood, his voice shrill. She's been scheming in the shadows. Bet she poisoned Reginald's mind. A female relative shouted, her silk gloves pristine. She's a thief in a dress. Stealing Victoria's birthright, Alex smirked, his voice loud. We should have locked her in the stables where she belongs, a board member's colleague muttered. Margaret shot to her feet, her face pale, impossible. She lived on a pig farm for 12 years. Edward gripped his chair, his knuckles white. I refuse to accept this. Victoria is the rightful heir. Victoria's tears returned, then flipped to a bitter laugh. My sweet sister, always the martyr. What's next? Did you forge the will with one hand while kneeling? Someone should check Mr. Wexley's fingerprints. I doubt he knows what day it is. Alex's voice was venomous, his eyes narrow. She probably tricked him while he was half dead. An aunt muttered, her voice carrying. Clara sat still, her eyes on the attorney, her silence a fortress against their outrage. This is a scandal. She's got no qualifications to run holdings. A board member stood, his voice booming. She's a liability, not an heir. Victoria's been groomed for this, his colleague nodded, his tie tight. She's been playing the saint, manipulating Reginald in his sick bed. The cousin in the silk scarf shouted. We'll contest this. She's no Wexley. The uncle's face reddened, his voice shrill. Margaret lunged forward, her hand raised for another slap, her pearls swinging. As Margaret raised her hand, the crowd's mockery grew bolder. There lies a public execution of Clara's presence. She's a fake. That dress proves she's no heir. A younger cousin shouted, his designer watch flashing. Bet she's been milking Reginald for years, playing the saint. His sister laughed, her lipstick bright. She's a disgrace to Holdings. Victoria is the one we trust, a board member called out. Victoria's smirk was faint, her tears dry, her role as the victim fueling the family's scorn. Clara's cheeks still stung, but she didn't move, her eyes on the attorney, her silence a fortress against their deceit. The crowd held its breath, their eyes glinting with anticipation, their loyalty to Victoria unwavering. The attorney raised a hand, his voice firm. The will is notarized, witnessed, and legally binding. But Margaret's hand was already descending, the crowd's murmurs egging her on. The side doors swung open, the sound like a thunderclap that stilled the hall. Reginald Wexley stepped in, his silver hair gleaming, his cane tapping the marble floor, his eyes like frost. Each step was deliberate, his presence a force that silenced the crowd. He was thinner, his suit loose from illness, but his gaze was sharp. His recovery, a secret kept by Clara's care. He stopped at the hall's center, his cane a verdict, and spoke, his voice calm but cutting. You just assaulted my rightful heir. The hall's silence was a reckoning, the family's earlier accusations a bitter echo. The board members, once dismissive, sat frozen, their tailored suits creased, their objections mute. We were wrong. She's the true Wexley. The cousin with the monogrammed handkerchief stood, his voice trembling. The aunts in fur stoles sank into their chairs, their laughter replaced by shame, their earrings dull. Reginald's voice was steel, his authority absolute. Clara cared for me when you were chasing wealth. You dared to judge her by her shoes. The relatives' faces paled, their scorn turned to awe, their respect a reluctant gift. Victoria's tears were real now, her dress a reminder of her deceit. Clara stood calm, her linen dress catching the light, her inheritance a quiet force that dismantled their arrogance. The room froze, gasps echoing off the walls. Margaret's hand dropped, her face ashen. Edward sank into his chair, his watch dull. Victoria's tears vanished, her dress suddenly too tight. Reginald's eyes swept the crowd, his words a blade. To Margaret, "You let your own blood sleep in the horse stalls at 13. To Edward, "You called your child a shame because she didn't know which fork was for salad." To Victoria, "You spilled wine on a diplomatic report and blamed your sister. You cost me $1 billion contract, and you think I didn't know." As Reginald condemned Victoria, the family grappled with their shame, their faces pale under the chandeliers. "We called her a servant, and she's the heir," the female cousin with pearls who'd mocked Clara's dress whispered to her sister, her voice trembling. "I backed the wrong side." The young board member who championed Victoria stood, his tie loose. The attorney approached Reginald, his glasses glinting, his voice low. "She's the soul of this estate, sir. We failed her." Reginald's eyes were ice, his words a verdict. "Clara's heart saved this family, mine included. You judged her by her dress, not her loyalty." The crowd's narrative shifted, their scorn replaced by reverence. Clara's inheritance a beacon that exposed their deceit. Her scuffed shoes were steady, her white dress a testament to her strength, her silence a quiet command. The crowd's silence was suffocating, their shame a weight they couldn't escape. Clara sat still, her linen dress catching the light, her silence a testament to her strength. Reginald's gaze softened as it landed on Clara, his voice gentle for the first time. "You owe no apology for what they did to you. You are a Wexley, not by blood, but by character." We celebrated Victoria, but Clara's the legacy. The board member in the grey suit who'd called Clara uneducated stood, his face pale. "We were blind. She's the heart of Holdings." The gossipy uncle approached the attorney, his voice low. Reginald's voice cut through the quiet, his tone unyielding. "Clara doesn't need your approval. She earned this estate with every meal, every night by my side." The relatives' power waned, their lies exposed, Clara's inheritance a symbol of her unbreakable will. Her hazel eyes were calm, her white dress a badge of her resilience, the seat a light that exposed the hall's darkness. He turned to the attorney, his tone final. "Execute the will, and if any of them remain in this house 48 hours from now, call the police and charge them with unlawful occupation." We betrayed the Wexley name. The senior board member who'd called Clara a nobody gathered his papers, his face pale. "We need to honor Clara. She's the future." The female relative in silk gloves stood, her gloves slipping. The younger cousins packed their things, their watches now a reminder of their shame. Victoria's ban was a final nail, her reputation erased, her deceit a stain that would follow her forever. The relatives' influence crumbled, their lies a footnote, Clara's inheritance a promise of a new legacy. Reginald's authority was absolute, his defense of Clara a beacon for the estate. The hall was a graveyard, the family's power shattered. Margaret's pearls seemed to choke her, her earlier slap a regret. Edward's face was grey, his authority gone. Victoria's hands trembled, her manipulation exposed, her future uncertain. Alex's cufflinks were forgotten, his ambition a footnote. The board members sat silent, their objections mute, their loyalty to Victoria a mistake. Clara rose, her steps soft on the marble, and walked to the central chair, the seat of Wexley Holdings now hers. She sat, her white dress a symbol of her grounded strength, their silence a verdict that spoke louder than their lies. The family's shame was a living thing, their faces pale under the chandeliers. Reginald stood beside Clara, his cane steady, his presence a shield. "You judged her by her dress, not her heart," he said, his voice low. "She cared for me when you were chasing wealth. She's the soul of this family." The attorney nodded, the will's execution already in motion, the estate's keys now Clara's. Victoria's tears were real now, her dress a costume that no longer fit. Margaret and Edward faced eviction, their disdain a stain they'd carry forever. The hall emptied, the relatives dispersing, their egos checked. Days later, the Wexley estate's halls whispered Clara's name in awe. The family's power diminished, their legacy hers. Clara's white dress, once mocked, was displayed in the hall, a symbol of resilience. Reginald's letter to Clara was simple. You rebuilt my dream. It's yours now. Clara's hands rested on the chair's arms, her hazel eyes calm, her victory in the silence, in the seat, in the truth. Clara's past was a shadow that lingered, revealed in fragments through the years. At 12, she'd arrived at the estate, her farm boots muddy, her accent thick, her hands calloused from chores. The family mocked her, sent her to the stables to sleep, called her lessons a waste. But Reginald saw her heart, taught her quietly, shared stories of the empire he'd built. When Victoria framed her for the wine incident, Clara took the blame, her silence protecting the family's image even as they scorned her. She'd spent nights by Reginald's bedside, learning his values, his regrets, while Victoria danced at galas. Her care, meals, injections, whispered conversations had kept him alive. His recovery, a secret she'd guarded. The estate was hers, not because of blood, but because she'd earned it. Her character forged in the fields, her strength honed in the face of their hate. The Wexley estate stood quiet, its halls empty, its legacy now Clara's. Victoria and Alex were banned, their reputations ruined, their manipulation a footnote in the family's history. Margaret and Edward faced legal battles, their wealth tied to the estate they'd lost, their cruelty a lesson for the elite. The board reformed, its new leaders pledging loyalty to Clara, her vision for holdings already reshaping the empire. The relatives avoided the estate, their gossip a warning, their influence gone. Clara's chair became a symbol, her leadership a beacon for those who valued character over lineage. Reginald retired to a cottage on the grounds, his trust in Clara absolute, their bond unspoken but unbreakable. The wind carried the scent of autumn leaves, the estate a canvas for her triumph. And she sat steady, her victory in the silence, in the will, in the truth. She was the disgrace until she sat on the throne. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and become a part of our Everyday Life Stories community, where we celebrate quiet strength, real struggles, and unexpected victories. Where are you watching from? Drop a comment below. We love hearing from our amazing viewers around the world.